Chapter 4 The Haunting. Now reading Chapter 4 The Haunting. The mansion had grown eerily silent after Raj and Karishma's discovery. As they stood before the unsettling family portrait, a chill ran down Karishma's spine. "We should leave this room," Karishma whispered, her voice barely audible. Raj examined the portrait closely.
Karishma, this family in the portrait, they look like our two. The lady next to me is my mother, and your mother is also there. How is that even possible? Is it a coincidence? And why we all are looking so sad? I don't remember having a photo taken with Amit uncle and his wife.
Equally bewildered, Karishma responded, "This is too uncanny to be a coincidence. Maybe there's a connection we never knew about." Raj nodded, but his eyes remained fixated on the portrait. The figures within seemed to shift, their eyes following Raj and Karishma as they moved. He shook his head, trying to dismiss the thought as an illusion of the dim lighting.
Yeah, let's go.
Raj agreed, though there was a lingering hesitation in his tone. They turned away from the portrait and headed down the corridor, the sound of their footsteps echoing unnaturally through the hall. The door they had entered through now seemed much farther away, the passageway stretching impossibly long before them. Karishma clutched Raj's arm tightly, her heartbeat quickening with each step. As they neared the end of the corridor, the door suddenly slammed shut with a deafening bang, trapping them inside. Karishma gasped, and Raj instinctively reached for the handle, but it wouldn't budge. Panic began to bubble up in their chests, the oppressive atmosphere suffocating them. "Raj, what's happening?" Karishma's voice quivered with fear.
I don't know.
Raj replied, his voice shaky. They turned back. Intending to retrace their steps. But the corridor had changed. The walls, once lined with portraits, were now bare, and the hallway stretched into an ominous darkness. A low guttural whisper echoed from the shadows, growing louder with each passing moment. Karishma. The sound of their names sent chills down their spines. The voices were no longer distant, but seemed to surround them, coming from every direction at once. Karishma clung to Raj, her nails digging into his arm.
Let's move quickly.
Raj urged, pulling Karishma along as they ventured into the darkness. There were distant howls of wolves and strange, eerie voices trying to pierce the walls of the manor. The corridor seemed endless, and the deeper they went, the colder the air became. Their breath puffed out in visible clouds. the icy chill gnawing at their skin. Suddenly, they stumbled upon another door. It was old and wooden, with strange symbols carved into its surface. Raj hesitated before reaching for the handle, his hand trembling.
We have no other choice.
He muttered more to himself than to Karishma. He pushed the door open, revealing a room bathed in a sickly pale light. The source of the light was a single candle placed on a small table in the center of the room. Around the table were several chairs, each one occupied by shadowy figures whose features were obscured by the darkness. Karishma's breath hitched in her throat as she tried to recognize the figure seated at the head of the table. It seemed like Uncle Amit, but his face was haggard, his eyes hollow and devoid of life, and his body seemed to flicker as if he were only partially there. A voice croaked from the shadows, causing Raj and Karishma to jump with fear. The figures around the table turned their heads in unison. Their hollow eyes locking onto the intruders.
Raj, Karishma.
The voice called again, this time more insistent, as if pulling them deeper into a nightmare. Uncle Amit? Karishma whispered, her voice trembling. What is this? What's happening? The figure that resembled Uncle Amit turned towards them. His eyes now glowing with an unnatural, eerie light.
You should not have come here.
He rasped, his voice echoing unnaturally in the small room. Raj backed away, pulling Karishma with him, but the door slammed shut behind them. With a force that shook the room, they were trapped. The other figures chanted in unison, their voices merging into a chilling chorus that reverberated through the room. The shadows around the table began to move, rising from their seats, their forms becoming more solid, more menacing. Raj's heart pounded in his chest as he frantically looked for another way out. The walls of the room seemed to swell and pulse, the very air around them thick with malevolent energy. The shadows closed in, their hollow eyes fixed on Raj and Karishma.
Run.
Raj shouted, but there was nowhere to go. The room was closing in on them, the walls narrowing, the shadows growing taller and darker, their shapes twisting into incongruous forms. Karishma screamed a high-pitched sound that was quickly drowned out by the cacophony of whispers and the howling wind that had suddenly whipped through the room. Raj grabbed her hand, trying to pull her towards the center of the room, but she was rooted to the spot, her eyes wide with terror. The shadows reached out, their cold, claw-like hands grabbing at them. Raj felt an icy grip on his shoulder, pulling him backward, away from Karishma. He struggled, but the force was too strong, dragging him down into the darkness.
Karishma! Karishma!
He shouted, his voice lost in the chaos. Karishma's eyes locked onto his, filled with desperation and fear. She reached out for him, but before their hands could touch, a shadowy figure stepped between them, its form shifting and flickering like a living nightmare. The voice whispered one last time before everything went black. The next thing Raj knew, he was alone, lying on the cold, hard floor. The room was empty, the shadows gone. The table and chairs vanished. He called out for Karishma, but there was no response. His voice echoed through the empty mansion, the only sound in the suffocating silence. He stumbled to his feet, his mind reeling, and rushed out of the room. The mansion was a maze of twisting corridors and dead ends, each turn leading him deeper into the unknown. The once familiar rooms now felt like traps, each one more sinister than the last. As Raj searched desperately for an exit, the whispers returned, louder and more insistent. Their words indecipherable, but filled with malevolent intent. The walls seemed to close in on him, the air growing thicker, heavier, as if the mansion itself were alive, feeding on his fear. Then he heard it, a faint, distant cry, Karishma's voice, calling out to him from somewhere deep within the mansion. Raj, help me! The sound of her voice spurred him on, giving him the strength to push through the terror that gripped him. He ran towards the source of the sound, his heart pounding in his chest, each step bringing him closer to her, closer to the heart of the mansion's dark secret. But as he rounded the corner, he froze. Before him stood an ornate mirror, large and imposing, reflecting not the hallway he was in, but a room filled with shadows and darkness. In the center of the room stood Karishma, her eyes wide with terror, her hand outstretched as if reaching for him. Raj, please! He rushed forward, but the mirror shattered with a deafening crash before he could reach it, the shards falling around him like rain. The sound of her voice faded, replaced by the haunting whispers that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. Raj fell to his knees, surrounded by the broken pieces of the mirror, his mind racing with fear and despair. The mansion had claimed her, just as it had claimed Amit and countless others before him. And now it wanted him too. There was pin-drop silence now.